Hi everyone, this is a review of USA Kilts semi-traditional kilt in polyviscose in the MacPherson hunting tartan. In order to give you an idea of what this kilt is really made of, we're presenting it to you here at the end of a long day. It's been worn for close to 10 hours today, and the weather where we live is up in the 90s. It's probably been about 94 as a high today. The guy who's wearing it has sat down, stood up, walked around all over, ridden in a car, and so this is the kilt as it is at its absolute roughest. And as you'll see, it still looks pretty great. So taking a closer look, you can see some sort of light wrinkling here in the area of the pleats. That is as bad as it gets through all the hardships this kilt has been through today. And when the kilt is hung up and left for a couple of days, those wrinkles have fallen out in our experience. The kilt wearer has been wearing the kilt for about 2 weeks now, and every time he's worn it, the fabric has returned pretty much to its original condition after being hung in the closet for a little while and given a chance to relax. So it's an easy care garment. It doesn't need to be pressed every time you wear it. And in contrast to the fabric here in the flat bits, where you can see some wrinkling, the pleats have absolutely not lost any of their crispness, any of their sharpness. They're all exactly where they belong, and they look terrific when the kilt is on and being worn and when they're moving. And the construction of the kilt is really terrific. The stitching is all nice and even. There are no loose thread ends. The buckles are sewn in very firmly with a lot of neat but firm back stitching here to keep them in place. The area where the tongue of the buckle comes out has been reinforced with stitching so that it won't fray. The facings are serged and very neatly handled here. All in all, the construction of the garment is really top-notch. The straps are made of a sturdy and thick leather, and as you can see, they're very neatly and very firmly stitched in place. The surface of the leather of the straps, however, has a shiny finish to it, and that will show abrasions and wear. It's not something that you notice when the kilt is being worn, but it is something to be aware of. It doesn't bother us, I don't think, but it's something that if you're sensitive to, you might want to just be aware of before you purchase the kilt.
So I'm the one who actually is wearing this kilt, and I want to give you guys some pieces of information about why I chose this particular model. As we just heard, this is actually the semi-traditional model. Basically, that means it's made from PV instead of wool. If you listen to some of Rocky's videos, he'll tell you that he chose PV because it's the best non-wool alternative, and it is cheaper. The difference between the casual and the semi-traditional is the semi-traditional has these straps here, as opposed to Velcro that the casual has, and also this has a bit more material and it's a bit more traditionally constructed. My issue when buying this was I'm not just a first-time kilt wearer, which I am, but I'm also someone who doesn't know anything, unlike the person you just heard from, doesn't know anything about garments or sewing or any of these things. And I eventually chose this model simply because it looked like, well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, because it looked like a very simple model to deal with. Wool kilts are traditional and they are in some ways the best, but they do take a lot of work to deal with, to clean, to press, to that sort of thing. Whereas the PV material here is a lot more forgiving. If you go to Rocky's website, he's actually got pictures of people doing these tough mudder competitions where they get covered with mud and then they just put it in the washing machine. This can be washed, by the way, the wool kilts cannot. But they just put them in the washing machine and they're good as new. So for me, this was really, I think, a good entry-level kilt. And one last thing I wanted to mention is that the customer service at USA Kilts is really exceptional. I had a slight issue when my kilt was being shipped to me. Although I live fairly close to USA Kilts store, it ended up the package getting sent to Anchorage, Alaska. Obviously, this has nothing to do with USA Kilts. It was simply a problem with the post office. So I contacted Rocky. Every time I've contacted Rocky, I've always got a response back in about 20 minutes at most. So very prompt with customer service inquiries, and he just told me how to deal with the post office. He said
to not worry, and that he'd make sure the kilt got to me. And in fact, it did get to me, and I was so happy to get it that I didn't even think about the delay anymore. So just in conclusion, it's an excellent kilt. I'm really happy to wear it, and I'm just overall very happy with USA Kilts, and I look forward to buying a wool one in the future.